which was not like my dad when it comes to ideas and all. And he started his multi-million dollar industry, well, business, sorry, by selling eggs. That's what he did, you know. And for me, I was always look up to be a mixture between the amazing ideas that my dad had and the business structure that my uncle had, you know. So I was always searching for something that would give me financial freedom or wealth, you know, building generational wealth. And then I opened a couple of businesses, and it was very, very well. One was a beauty academy, you know, that I learned to teach, and it was very nice, and empower other people how to start and learn something and start your own business. And then I discovered real estate. My husband works in construction management for years, and we were like, why can't we just start flipping houses? I think flipping houses is like your entry level for anything real estate investment, you know. And we made a good amount of money, you know, 3 years of flipping a lot of houses. And then I discovered the BRRRR strategy. And then I was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I kept all of the houses that I flipped? You know, like, why did I sold for a profit and pay all these taxes? You know, like, why didn't I just kept it in rent, you know? So then we started doing this. And then I had a light bulb moment. I was like, okay, so each house that we take, we operate in a small scale. It was just my husband and I in a crew of workers. We took more or less 6 to 8 months to complete our BRRRR strategy, finding the off market and rehab it and refinancing and rented it out. For cash flowing at around 200 was like a limit, you know, if we cash flow 200 is a goal for us. And I'm like, okay, so how much do I need to be financial free? You know, like, how much do I need to quit my husband's 9 to 5 and dedicate to real estate or to build generational wealth? And I was like, it's going to take a long, long time, because if 6 to 8 months it takes me to flip one house, I need around 10 houses to be able to live comfortably and build some kind of savings account to be wealthy, you know. And I was like, that's going to take me a long, long time. And I felt like flipping houses, if you stop flipping houses, you stop making money, you know. So I was like, this is not the way. This is basically a job. It's a real estate investment job, but it's a job, you know. Is if I stop flipping, I don't make any money. So I'm like, how can I become wealthy by making my investments make money for me, you know? So then I discovered multifamily investment, and it just blew my mind. And I went head first, and we stopped flipping houses and signed up for a mastermind. It was the best investment I ever made. And it's 7 months only. So 7 months ago, I changed my life completely.
That's incredible. And that's the journey getting there has actually helped you out tremendously to where you're going too, because
yes,
you
exactly. You know, I always look back and I'm like, well, I can never look back and be upset that I sold all the houses, because it was a journey to where I am, you know, to get to where I am today, for sure.
Well, and just going through the transactional process, and then
exactly knowing how to calculate the ARV and knowing how to work with money and to the lenders and develop relationship with the brokers. And it for sure it's time well invested.
Yeah, it helps segue to bigger things like
exactly.
we have here, the 500 apartment units. That's it's baby steps getting there, and you get
but that's
more
the
confidence.
beauty. Yeah, that's the beauty about multifamily, because for me to acquire 500 single families, it would take me a lot of time, you know. And the beauty about apartment is one transaction I acquire 417 units, you know. So it's kind of so it's basically 500 units in 3 apartments only, you know. So it's nice.
That's a nice deal. That is
yeah.
How do you balance the demands of managing a real estate investment firm with your personal life and other commitments?
Is a lot of organizing, for sure. You know, that's the tip number 1 I give to everyone that has a family or have a 9 to 5 or any kind of other than real estate investment. You have to organize your day, and you have to block off time in your calendar for each thing. It's like, for my days, I start the day by blocking time for my kids, because they are with me. They are little kids, you know, and they don't go to daycare or anything. I have the help from my mom. You always gonna need some kind of help. You can't do it absolutely on your own. So I have my mom's help, which helps a lot. And I'm glad to have a very strong support system too, you know, like have strong property management and partners to take over when I can't and my personal life takes over, you know. So, but for sure, the tip number one is blocking off time and organizing your week in advance. You know, and what I do is I send a copy of my weekly calendar for everyone, my partners, my mom, my husband, you know, so everyone knows that this is what's going to happen this week. And I set alarms too, because I remember at the start of all of this, that was my concern number one. I'm like, why did I pay $30,000 for a mastermind and I have absolutely no time? You know, like, how am I going to do this? You know, so I panicked a little, and then I started doing the block off on my calendar. But then when I looked, I'm 1 hour over, so it was a mess. So now I set alarms, you know. So I'm like, okay, I have 1 hour to call brokers, 1 hour to call property manager, interview them in the states that I want to invest and things like that. And it seems to be working very, very nicely with me. But you have to have alarms and plan everything ahead of time.
That's actually a really good life hack, is using your phone to set the alarm and put in what you're supposed to call for. I know I'm constantly setting just different alarms because I'll get notifications from the calendar, from this, from that, but I just disregard that the alarm is definitely reminds me. I'm glad
and I have a different sound too for my, like, if I have a meeting and it has to end at a certain time, and I let them know, like, I'm sorry, at a certain time I have to go, and the alarm will come off, and I actually set 2 alarms, like 5 minutes to finish, and then by the time that I have to cut off, so it's not like, okay, bye, you know.
Yeah, one thing I started, I got an alarm that sets off at 3 o'clock every day for me to reflect on what growth drivers I did today to get me moving forward. I would always review my day, but then I would always look past review my days. I'm like, man, I need if you record what you're doing on the daily and then the weekly and the monthly, you'll get to where you're going. If you
That's very nice. I don't have none for personal stuff. There's always like, you have to do this, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to take a breather.
It all goes into it. So this next question, I think, is going to be really good for some good listeners out there. Is how do you use social media to attract investors?
That was actually how I got started, because you have many ways to get started in multifamily. You know, you have many roles that you can start as, you know, and I'm not from here. I don't have a bunch of people, you know, so I had the opportunity to put myself in a situation to be lucky, you know, and I heard someone saying that, and it hits me right in the heart, because it's exactly what I did. When I joined the mastermind, I put myself just completely focus mode and obsess mode to not only learn, to get the educational going, but to network. You know, you have to network like crazy. This is a relationship business, and you cannot tackle an apartment complex on your own unless you have a lot of money, you know, or just wealth or already established as an investor. But for myself as a beginner, you know, I had to do it with networking, you know, so I could not just travel to conferences all the time and go to meetups. There's another thing that I always tell people to do. I couldn't. I was limited on the amount of network events that I could go. So I had to use what I had at the moment. I have always thought of this, you know, like, you have to stop and think, what do I have at the moment to get what I need done? You know, you can never think, okay, when I have that, I will be able to do this. You cannot think like this. You know, you have to think about the present and think about, okay, what do I have at the moment that I can use to get to where I am? So I had the opportunity to jump on my first deal, which was my first deal in the Wake, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, 40 units. And it was with my direct mentor, because when you get a mastermind, they assigned you a direct mentor. So he said, well, I'm raising right now. I have a contract, and I could never get anything on the contract, and could never get a property that actually made sense. And much less now that the interest rates are eating up all of the profits. But I could never be the lead investor in any deals. So I got this opportunity, and I was like, I'm not going to let that slide, you know. So I used everything that I could in my power. And one of them, that was actually the only thing that I had on my power, was my social media. And I only had 300 followers, you know, and in specific Instagram, because I used to use it for my beauty academy. So I did a lot of classes on how to use Instagram for attracting clients. And that's what I did. You know, I transformed all of my social media presence to be about multifamily and to be an authority in the field. You know, I will learn something. I will learn what cap rate is, and then tomorrow I'll be making a video explaining what cap rate is. And actually, I was doing this for a while before I got the opportunity to jump on my first investment. And this investor that invested with me $1 million, he actually said, I was following you since you start posting. Like, I think the very first video I found you because I use the hashtags. There's another thing that you always have to use, hashtags. And he found me, but he was waiting to see that I really truly knew what I was doing, you know. And I was like, well, if he only knew, you know, that I was completely a beginner. But I was there every single day. So there are ways to maximize your use of social media. You have to post every day. So I only post 5 days a week. I don't think the weekend is a little too much for me, but I have to post every single day. And it has to be, you have to have a clear vision of who your target audience is, your avatar kind of target person is. And at first I started kind of explaining the whole general idea about multifamily, but then I'm like, I sound like I want to sell a course or want to be a mentor for someone like myself that wants to start investing actively in multifamily. And that's not what I want. I wanted to reach out to passive investors that have their jobs and they don't want to know how cap rate works or how, what do we do with leases and things like that. They just want to know how the investment works. So then I changed and I started being more specific on how the returns work and how amazing the tax benefits are. And then I start getting more and more traction. So be specific to who your target audience is, but at the same time, giving a general idea to everyone that you know what you're talking about, you know. So that's what I did. I posted every day constantly for maybe 4 months until this investor and this opportunity came together. And it was a 506B, which I could not advertise. So I was always saying, I have opportunities, you know, if you guys want. And I was like, I wish I could. You know, my first opportunity was very hard to sell, but even though I could get investors through it. So you have to use the algorithms, you know, how Instagram works. You have to post every day. You have to have a clear vision of who your target audience is and try to reach out every day. I follow a bunch of people that follow people like myself, you know, so then they kind of like, who is this person? And they follow me, you know, and I pay a PR company as well to help me get more specific. So you have, it's kind of like what I had. And I thought of it as, I'm a business, and this is marketing, my marketing department. I don't have money to pay for paid advertisement. So this is what I have for free. And that's what I use. And it worked, you know, and it worked. And I got 3 very strong investors. I didn't get many, you know, but I got 3 very strong investors that made possible for me to acquire 500 units, you know, through my social media, through my Instagram, not even LinkedIn. LinkedIn, a lot of people said that LinkedIn is amazing for it. I don't know how to use it. I use it like Facebook and it doesn't work the same. I just don't know how to use it.
Well, and the fact that you're out there utilizing, I mean, you're giving away some very, very good advice that is that everyone has the tool in the palm of their hand to use, and it's just knowing how to use the tools that are already there.
Exactly.
And
you have to think what you can use at the moment. You know, you can't just like, oh, I wish I had money to pay for an ad. You just use it, whatever you have.
And real estate is all about getting the word out of what you're doing and how you're going there, because it's such a there's so much real estate to go around. There's not a shortage. There's an overabundance, and it's just letting everyone else know what you're doing and you can do it too. And this is
exactly
how it's and the good thing is you can truly stand behind the what you say as far as how properties perform, because there's just such a it's a niche. It's a very it's a good niche to get into, and it's the property.
And as well, and I believe that social media allows you to show a little bit of your personal side too. Because after going to a lot of conferences about raising capital for multifamily deals, for real estate deals in general, passive investors always says, like, I don't know who you are. You know, you can everyone has a great product. You know, no one is going to come to you and say, I'm great, but my product is crappy, but hey, invest with me. You know, everyone's going to say my product is amazing, but who are you? You know, so they like to see the person behind it. And it's true, because you're not a firm. You're not a licensed broker that you have a license proving that you're going to be honest. So they have to trust who you are as a person. So there's another thing that I use as well on my social media is to show you your true self. I show my family, so I always rotate between 3 topics: educational, motivational too, to motivate the people that kind of wants to start in the fence, and personal. I sometimes I show myself playing with it. So it shows your character, it shows who you are, and it shows your true self, and it shows how nice of a mom you are. So they're like, oh my goodness, yeah, she's gonna be nice, so they want to see that. They want to see your personal, because if they go to my website, it's all gonna be so corporate, so they don't see who truly Raquel is, so it's kind of like, that's what has been helping me a lot is, and I post more and more nowadays about my personal life, because my investors like to see it. They like to see like, oh, investing with her, I'm not only going to invest in her future, but her kids' future, so you have to kind of play with the heartstrings a little.
And it makes you a real person too. It's not just
yes, exactly.
you're
so you see that you are, yes,
you're
exactly.
Human things. It's the life, the journey, and the journey getting there.
Exactly.
So what do you see the biggest challenges facing real estate investors today, and how do you navigate those challenges?
I believe the economy right now that we are in is very hard because the interest rates are eating up, but there are always creative ways to get deals at the moment, but it's not a market for beginners like myself. So it's been very, very hard. So that's number one, because at the moment I have 500 units, but I'm not the lead GP, the general partner in them. I am a partner. I'm not on the loan. I'm just a partner on the contract, but I'm not the lead. I don't have the main say on everything. So my investors got to a point that they do not want me to present another person's deal anymore. They want me to take the lead because they believe so much in me, and it's awesome. But for me right now, because of interest rate and because of my lack of track record, I can't get the brokers to send me the deals first, because I'm not in a loan. I haven't closed any deal by myself. So it's tricky. That's number one. And especially because if I go the regular route as deals on market, the interest rate will eat half of my cash flow, so it's not really making sense. And the other thing is knowing how to choose your partners. I think that's the number 2 most difficult challenge that I face, is knowing how to truly vet your partners. Because if I take the route of more of a capital raiser, like I bring my passive investors to deals, and I help operate with main operators, is vetting them, because it's a marriage, like we go through a very short dating period, and then we get married for 3 to 5 years, right?
Sure.
So it's and I have constant calls with all the partners saying, hey, Raquel, what should I do in this case? The guy seemed amazing, and he's ghosting me. He's not letting me participate on any of the asset management calls. What should I do? And I'm like, a lot of people have that same problem. And it's very hard, because I will be the face, and I will be representing my investors who gave me millions of dollars to invest in this person's deal, because I thought it was a nice person, but then it turned out to be a very crappy operator. So that's the next challenge. And what I'm doing to navigate that is I do a lot of test runs. So we go through, I have a couple that I'm vetting, and they are very, very at the top of my list of good operators for future deals. And what I'm doing is we get together, and then we go through underwriting of a deal. So then you can get a good character feel from each one, because some people will be like, hey, let's not be conservative in these numbers. Let's put a little bit more. I'm sure it's going to be fine. So that's a red flag right there. So I'm constantly analyzing every single word and every single gesture or every single kind of suggestions that they do, because I'm vetting their character more than just going through the exercise of analyzing a property, and sometimes go toward the property together. So I see how they talk to the property management and the other people and their partners, and obviously the regular, calling references. But it's very scary, because you end up partner up with someone and then not knowing who they are. It's pretty much like dating, like you don't know who they are until you kind of in a relationship, in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest challenge.
Buying a large multifamily asset apartment complex is buying a business. I think that goes by the wayside a lot of times, because you hear passive income so much that people feel like they can buy it and then it's just going to produce. It's truly not.
It's so much more.
It's an operating business. You have team building, you have organizational structure, you have you have targets that you need to meet, and you have a business plan that you need to execute on. And that operator, depending on how long they've been doing it or what were they doing before, they're the critical component of whether the project is a success or a failure. And then communication skills and the sense of urgency and knowing that they could be holding up information for you to communicate. It's all vital. It all goes into the jar. And I think that roles and responsibilities that some take on is it takes them to the test, and whether they succeed or not depends on if they can do it in the future or not too. But
there's very little that you can do prior of jumping into a partnership, to avoid bad operators, bad partners, I should say. It's very scary, so that's why when I found, but at the same time, you cannot just have one group of people that you invest all the time, because you have to diversify, because if something happened to that group of people, then all of your investments goes downhill, so you have to diversify as well with other operators. So that's been my number two challenge at the moment, for sure.
And finding quality operators that have that know what executing a business plan looks like. And
exactly.
It can be a challenge. I totally get that. I respect that. I just had I had a question come in. I'm beginning my real estate journey, and I'd like to know what books you would recommend.
Oh my goodness, I have so many books, guys. I have so many books, and I use Audible because I don't have the luck to walk around with holding a book. I have 2 kids, but it depends, because I'm more focused on multifamily. But I can tell you a couple of books that truly took me to where I am today. And it's not only the mastermind just took me to maybe 80%. This one took me to 100, So I can tell you, let me see here on my little list. So let's start by Best Ever Apartment Syndication book by Joe Fairless. This book is amazing because it's kind of couple of books here. I'm going to tell you that it takes you like from zero to knowing what you're doing. So Best Ever Apartment Syndication book. The other one that's going to take you from zero to this one to good is The Multifamily Millionaire by Brendan Turner.
Yeah.
And it has volume 1 and 2. You have to read this. These 3 books will get you from not knowing to knowing pretty much every single step. But there's a lot more to everything than just reading books and you're ready to go. But these ones will get you a good base.
Yeah.
And then you always have to know how to it's so much involved with multifamily. And I think in general, just real estate investment, you cannot just knowing how to find the deal. You have to know how to analyze the deal to see if the deal makes sense. Yeah. Then you have to know how to raise the capital for the deal. And then you have to know how to operate the deal, so that's main things. So these books will give you a good general idea. But another book that you have to know is Raising Capital by, I can read his last name, by
Joe Fairless,
host
of the best.
Is Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth.
Okay.
Very good. That one. Yeah. Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth. Very good. Perfect. Another one is amazing because this one teaches you about how to deal with brokers and how to be all in all an elite investors when you sell and when you buy apartments. This book just blew my mind. Is Multifamily Investors Who Dominate by Bo Berry. That one is amazing. This one is so good because right now I see how not many people are what he said that you have to be, you have to be an elite investor. For example, I'm tired of touring properties that the people just kind of like, we know we're going to sell it. So let's stop the deferred maintenance. Let's not paint the outside as we were doing halfway through because we're selling it anyway. Or, there's a leak in here, but it doesn't matter because you shouldn't, because then you have your reputation, so that if Raquel is selling a property, that property is going to be top notch. I'm going to give you all of the reports and all of the documentation that you need. And I'm going to be honest with everything. And another thing is when people trying to sell to make the numbers look better, they start raising the prices. That's not a very good step, because then what you do is you stop me from raising my price when I'm actually giving you something better for your price, like maintenance and making the building looks better. Because if you're already putting at a top market, then you're gonna not be a value add anymore. So you cut down the list of potential buyers. So all of these things, this book is amazing. So then you have others like
Bo is he's actually a broker out of Northern Florida, and he takes the entire northern section. So he's giving insights to what brokers would want to hear and see.
Exactly. I love it.
From a syndication.
And I started doing, and it changed completely. It's like before I used to just call brokers like, hey, my name is Raquel. I'm looking for properties, this and this and that, and told my criteria. Now I'm meeting them, just like I said, go and meet them and go and have coffee or lunch or something, bring them something small. Yeah. Sense of doing this is like, I'm getting so many better deals, in my mailbox for sure.
Yeah, and probably more genuine conversations with them too.
Yes.
Where they're sending you maybe pocket listings, which
yes, and your reputation. You elevate yourself, you become an A-list, so it's nice. This book is amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You got another book?
And then the last one is Raising Capital by Hunter Thompson.
Yeah.
That one is, this one is another one that you have to read about raising capital.
He's got a very good platform too. And
yes, he has a whole mastermind on that too. That's the next mastermind I'm going to do.
So the last question that I have for you is, what is the how about this one? If someone is just now getting started in real estate, they're trying to connect dots, they're learning, they're watching videos, what do you recommend them doing to get their journey forward?
I think the number one thing, obviously, is going to be a number of steps. But the first thing is, what do you want? Like, what is your ultimate goal? Do you want passive income that your investments will produce that you can live off and be free? And be free meaning you can be in the Bahamas and your investments are going kind of in autopilot or run by your team members, Or do you want to be more active, like flipping houses, So you want to be more involved with the day-to-day. It depends on what you want. Myself, for example, I was looking for financial freedom, meaning I wanted to build something that I can leave off to my kids. Like, for example, if I can do a syndication on an apartment with a bunch of people, we get an apartment, 150 units, right? And a cash flow around maybe 20,000 a month. Do it the 5 years business plan with a group of investors. So basically I'll get my shares very little for 5 years. But then at the end, instead of selling it, I refinance, pay everyone out if possible, if the contract allows and everything, pay everyone out and keep it with maybe just myself or a smaller group of investors and keep it forever, So that's my goal. And then when I pass away, that can be for my kids. And each one of my kids will have a cash flowing property, the cash flow maybe 10 to 20,000. So then they can choose whatever they want to do in life, but they have a passive income coming in as a minimum 5,000. That was my ultimate goal, especially after having kids, Yeah. So I wanted to be able to have each one of my kids in an apartment complex or various for them to have passive income forever, so generational wealth. That's what I wanted to be. So find what is your why, what is your biggest reason, or even if you don't have kids yet, just kind of, what do you want to do? What do you want to have more time to travel and to come out of your 9 to 5 and your corporate world and just do whatever you want in life? That's your why, come up with your why and then figure it out a way to get there, So the reason why I chose multifamily was because of that, So it was quicker in a way, because it's not get rich quick at all, because it takes you, especially coming from zero and very limited amount of funds and being able to not be the KP on a loan and things like that is going to take you a little bit longer. But let's say whatever I'm doing right now, in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to be good, Yeah. So that's how I see it. So multifamily was the fastest or the most solid way for me to get there, So in 3 to 5 years, I will collect and I will be kind of just rolling that over to more and more properties. And then when you figure that out, then you have to take actions. I'm not from here. I have visible tattoos. I do not look like your regular investors. I remember going to conferences and I was like, wow, what am I doing here? I don't belong to this world. This is like Wall Street people. It's like, what am I doing here? And I kind of destroy every single barrier that I had and believed that I could do it because my why was strong and I wanted to do it for my kids. So that kept me going. So I jumped head first. So one of the things you have to do is educate yourself. There's so much free content online, YouTube, just type whatever field you choose to be in. go online and choose and type in multifamily investment and start watching like crazy, you know, just start following a bunch of groups on Facebook, type multifamily groups, multifamily active investment group, or general partner multifamily, and just join them. And just from groups alone, you learn a lot as well. Start networking. That's the second thing that you're going to have to start doing. Everything about you is going to be about whatever role you chose, about multifamily, for example. Change your social media to be multifamily. Start putting content out there. Become an authority in your field. You know, Raquel is an expert on multifamily. You know, if that's what I deleted all my pictures of, like birthday parties and from my Facebook, and just about multifamily now, or investments, or how the market is going in the states that I'm invested in, and how to run a multifamily. Kind of like just start becoming that person. Start going to meetups. You know, type on Meetup is an app, or even local. Just Google, type meetup for real estate investment in your city, you know, and go to every single one of them. Go to every single one of them, network, start getting emails from people, start telling people what you do. I'm a multifamily investor, operator based in Dallas. I'm looking for partners to invest with me. If you want, this is my contact. I'm always doing this. Every time that I talk to someone, a neighbor or something, I always say this little elevator pitch, you know? Yeah. Start networking like crazy, start growing your email list. You know, because once you have a property, you're going to be emailing everyone that you met and say, hey, I have a property. Do you want to invest? You know, and just go for it. You know, just do your website and educate, network, and just go for it. You know, just truly go for it. You can do it.
100%. I cannot agree more, for sure. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they? And we're going to post your contact information. We repost this out, but how can they get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you?
Probably on my Instagram is rad, as in radical, RAD_investors is my Instagram, rad_investors. And I'm there always. In the link of my bio, there's a Calendly link. I'm always available to talk to people and give tips on how to start. You know, I think that's my ultimate goal, is to help everyone, because when I started, I couldn't see a lot of people like myself. So it's nice to be that person for people that wants to start.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. I definitely appreciate your time today. Look forward to seeing your journey, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, very, very fun. Thank you guys, and take actions, you know, start your wealth today.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thanks again.